In this video, we are going to learn about how to solve linear equations. First of all, what is a linear equation? A linear equation is an equation that can be brought to the standard form ax plus b equals 0. So notice that this part of the equation is a polynomial of degree 1, and on the other side of the equality sign you have 0. So this is a linear equation, and a linear equation like this always has a unique solution, that is x equals minus b over a. And what does this mean? What does x equal minus b over a is a solution mean? It means that if I plug in this value into the equation, then the equality works. Now let's plug in this value for x. Let's plug in this value for x in the equation and see whether the equation works. So I have a, instead of x, I'm going to replace x with its value, that is minus b over a plus b. Now you can see a cancels a, and then I'm left with minus b plus b, which cancel each other, and I'm left with 0. So as you can see, x equals minus b over a is a solution to the linear equation because it satisfies the linear equation. In other words, if I plug in the value minus b over a for x into the equation, then the equality works. Okay, let's look at some examples of linear equations. 3x plus 2 equals 0. This is obviously in the standard form, and it is a linear equation, and for this linear equation the solution would be negative 2 over 3, that is minus b over a. Another example of a linear equation is 2x plus 5 over 3. This is equals 0. This is also a linear equation because I can write this as 2 over 3x plus 5 over 3 equals 0. And this would be my a, and this would be my b, and this is a linear equation. However, this one, x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 0. This is definitely an equation, but it's not a linear equation. You can see the polynomial here is quadratic, and that's why this is called a quadratic equation. Or this one, 2x plus 5 over x plus 1 equals 0. This is also clearly an equation, but it's not a linear equation because you can never write this in the form of a standard linear equation. This is actually a fraction or a rational number, a rational expression, and that's why we call this a rational equation. In order to solve a linear equation, you should use the cancellation laws. The cancellation laws are these: a equals b if and only if, or you can say it as equivalent to a plus c equals b plus c. And also a equals b is equivalent to a minus c equals b minus c. What does this mean? It means that if you have a equals b, you can add the same amount to both sides of the equality, and the equality still holds. And it also means that if you have a equals b, you can subtract the same amount c from both sides and the equality still holds. Or it also means that if you have a plus c equals b plus c, you can cancel c on both sides and then you have a equals b. And if you have a minus c equals b minus c, you can cancel minus c and minus c on both sides and you're left with a equals b. So that's two of them. We also have these. A equals b is equivalent to AC equals BC, and A equals B is equivalent to A over C equals B over C, and in these two cases C has to be a non-zero value. So this cancellation law means that you can multiply both sides of an equation by a non-zero value, or you can divide both sides of an equation by a non-zero value and the equation still holds. It also means that, so reading it from this direction, it means that if you can cancel the same factor from both sides of an equation. So here you have the factor 1 over c, which you can cancel from both sides of an equation. Okay, now let's see how we use these cancellation laws. For example, if I want to solve 2x minus 5 equals 0, first of all, solving an equation is also sometimes called isolating the unknown. So if you want to solve this equation, you need to isolate the unknown, which is x, or the variable. So x is called the unknown or the variable, and when you are solving a linear equation, or generally if you're solving any equation, you are trying to isolate the unknown. Okay, what do I have here? I have a coefficient of 2, and I also have 5 that has been subtracted from 2x. Now we have to get rid of these minus 5 and this 2 on this side of an equation, of the equation. So how can I get rid of this minus 5 here? I can add 5 to both sides of this equation, and then I will have 2x minus 5 plus 5 equals 0 plus 5. This way, the negative 5 and 5 cancel each other, and I am left with 2x equals 0 plus 5 is just 5. So you can see it looks as if I moved the negative 5 to the other side of the equation and I negated that. So it looks as if I moved negative 5 to the other side of the equation and I negated that. So it was negative 5 and it became positive 5. So this is actually the easy way of thinking about it and also using it in order to skip this step. And this is what I'm going to use from now on. When I am here, 2x equals 5, I still have the coefficient 2 which I want to get rid of. So what I need to do is to divide both sides of this equation by 2. So I have 2x equals 5. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 2 is not 0, so I can divide both sides of the equation by 2. This way, the 2 cancels the 2, and I am left with x equals 5 over 2, and that would be my final answer, because now I have x completely isolated. Okay, now let's look at some more complicated examples. (5x minus 2 open brace x plus 1 minus 4 equals minus 2x minus 1, and I want to solve for x. Okay. First thing I need to do here is to distribute this 2 here, because 2 is the coefficient of x plus 1. It affects both x and 1. So 5x minus 2x minus 2 times 1 minus 2 minus 4 equals minus 2x minus 1. Next, I would simplify this expression here. I have 5x minus 2x. These are like terms. I just need to add up the coefficients. 5 and negative 2 gives me 3x. And minus 2 minus 4 is minus 6. Equals 2x minus 1. Minus 2x minus 1. Okay, now I'm gonna move this minus x to the right side of the equation, and I 3x equals minus 2x minus 1 plus 6. So I moved the minus 6 to the right and I negated that. It became plus 6. Now I have 3x equals minus 2x minus 1 and 6 is plus 5. Then I am going to move the minus 2x to the left side of the equation and at the same time negate it. So I have 3x minus 2 becomes plus 2x equals 5. So here I have 5x equals 5, which means x equals 1, because I can divide both sides of this by 5 and I will get x equals 5 over 5, which is 1. So that would be my final answer. Let's look at another one. For open brace 2x minus x minus 2 close brace equals minus 3 open brace 3 minus 2x, and I want to solve for x. Okay, first thing I need to do is I need to simplify this expression here. So I distribute this negative and then simplify the equation on this side. This is 4 open square brace 2x minus x minus minus becomes plus 2 equals negative. And also I distribute this 3 here. I get 3 times 3, 9 minus 9, and then negative negative is plus, and 3 times 2 is 6x. Let's simplify the expression here. So it's 4 embrace 2x minus x is just x plus 2 equals minus 9 plus 6x. Next step, I'm going to distribute this 4 here. 4x plus 4 times 2, 8 equals minus 9 plus 6x. Okay, next step, I'm going to move this 8 to the right and negate it, and I'm going to move this 6 to the left and negate it. So I will be left with 4x minus 6x equals minus 9 minus 8. So this 6 was moved to the left and was negated. 8 was moved to the right and was negated. Now here I get minus 2x equals minus 17. My next step would be to divide both sides of the equation by negative 2 to get rid of the coefficient, and I'm left with x equals 17 over 2 because the negatives cancel each other. Okay, sometimes your coefficients are fractions. For example, you may have 3 over 2x minus 4 over 3 equals 20 plus 1 over 6x. Okay, so here your coefficients, as you can see, the coefficient of x here is a fraction, and this number here is also a fraction. 20 can also be considered as a fraction. 20 is 20 over 1. If you're solving an equation like this, what you need to do is first you need to get rid of all the denominators. So in order to get rid of all the denominators, you have to first think about the least common denominator among them. So what is the least common denominator among 2, 3, and 6? And the definition of the least common denominator is that the smallest number so that all the denominators are divisible by. And among 2, 3, and 6, the least common denominator is 6, because 6 is the smallest number such that it is divisible by 2, 3, and 6. So what I need to do here is I need to multiply both sides of this equation by 6 first. So I multiply this side by 6 and also this side by 6, because 6 is the least common denominator among 2, 3, and 6. So if I multiply 6 by 2 over 3, you see that the 2 cancels and I have 3 times 3, 9x, and the 3 cancels with 6 and I'm left with 2, so it would be minus 8 equals 6 times 20 is 120, and then the 6 cancels with 6 and I have just plus x. So next step would be to move this 8 to the right side and move this x to the left side. I have 9x minus x equals 120 plus 8. So this gives me 8x equals 128. Dividing both sides by 8, I get 128 over 8. Which is actually 16. Okay, let's look at another example. One over 4x minus 2 over 3 equals 5 over 12. Again, I have fractions everywhere. I need to get rid of the denominators, so I need to find the least common denominator between 4, 3, and 12. And the least common denominator between 4, 3, and 12 is 12. So I multiply both sides of this equation by 12. Twelve over 4 is 3. So 3 times 1 is 3x minus 12 over 3 is 4. So 4 times negative 2 gives me negative 8 equals 12 cancels 12 equals 5. And this becomes an ordinary linear equation, and you can easily solve it. So you get 3x equals 5 plus 8. So 3x equals 13, which means x is 13 over 3. Okay, now let's look at some word problems. So sometimes you're not given the problem in the form of a mathematical equation, you're given a sentence, and you're supposed to use the information in the sentence in order to put it down mathematically. For example, you may have the sum of twice a number and 13 is 75. Find the number. The first thing you need to do is you need to choose a symbol to represent your unknown. So the number is your unknown, and the most common symbol used to represent an unknown in algebra is x. So x is my unknown, the number. And what I know is that the sum of twice this number, so twice this number, and the sum of twice this number and 13. So this would be the sum of twice the number and 13 is means equal 75. And then I solve it. So 2x equals 75 minus 13. So 2x is 62. Dividing both sides by 2, I get 31 as the number. Another example. Find a number which decreased by 18 is 5 times its negative. Okay, again, you have to put it down mathematically. The number that you're looking for, let's call it x. And what do we know about this number? If decreased by 18, it would be 5 times its negative. So decreased by 18, it becomes 5 times its negative. So that's the equation. So the number which decreased by 18 is 5 times its negative. X minus 18 is minus 5x. So moving 18 to the right and negative 5 to the left, I have x plus 5x equals 18. So 6x equals 18. Dividing both sides by 6, I get x equals 3, and that is my final answer. Okay, and that's it for solving linear equations.